Even in the face of the political hardship we find ourselves, some economic policy analysts still saying that Tinubu's policy is not well communicated to Nigerians.
I want to ask Jake, how do you have 48 ministers in the kind of economy we have today? Last week or 2 weeks ago, we discussed it on the television. I said, Yori, I give you a home assignment. Could you mention 10 ministers offhand, quickly? Yori, I'm giving you that challenge again this morning. Mention 10 ministers you know in this government. And we have 48 in the kind of economy we have. Too many people doing nothing. The issue is that the economy is biting hard. We must do something quick to make people have at least a square meal in this nation. Naira devaluation has not helped anybody. What you call fuel subsidy, whether it's working or not, I'm confused as a man.
One of such economic analysts is Jake Epelle.
The economic situation is a mixed bag. There is an opportunity aspect of it, and there are challenges aspect of it. And the President's economic initiative reforms points at particularly two major laudable aspects. One is the fuel subsidy removal and the management of it. The other one is the unification of the currency rate, which they have been doing their very best. The problem is that these kind of reforms will not bring immediate result. It's a long-term strategy. However, the people are discontent because it's not giving immediate result. I think given time, there will be some measure of economic rebound, and it will bring some succor eventually. The only problem is that the people are in a hurry to see results.
Indeed.
And I don't blame them because
the pains are real.
Is biting.
Indeed,
yes.
Because the pains that the people are feeling are real. The president himself, no less, has attested to being aware of this. But then, as he asks rhetorically, what else could have been done? Any responsible, leader naturally wants the best for his country. But the situation that Nigeria found itself in when the president took over was what we all know that it was. And so something had to be done. There was no margin, has been, the perspective that they've sought to sort of enlighten us with. There simply wasn't any room to do anything else, and certainly not look the other way and continue as before. That was an absolute no-no. And going there, as leaders have to do, we have the situation that we have on our hands. That the president himself says he's not a stranger to. He's aware of all those things, but he's continued to counsel us that, in a bit of time, things will begin to normalize. It's just that, as you point out, Jake, it's not a thing of the next 4 weeks. That's the truth of the matter.
That's right. Absolutely, Folori. I think the whole strategy to rejig the economy and to present a solution-driven economy they are benchmarked on two very important economic boosts. Number one, to attract foreign investment, which I think we've seen what might be termed as trickles of it. But there's also the enthusiasm of the investors that we are seeing. And part of it was yesterday when the gentleman from Wall Street, Norman Chase, did allude to the fact that there is economic potential, a vibrant economic potential in Nigeria and the entire African continent. That's a very heartwarming expression or impression of an economic giant like that institution. And so on the heels of that, it's designed to lower inflation and also take care of the looming hardship that we are facing currently. However, I think it's pertinent to point out some of the challenges. Some of them the government inherited, even though I'm not a big fan of government not alluding to the fact that they inherited an economy that was in comatose, you know. Judging from that, one will say that the current administration have done well. Think of what would have happened if we had followed the previous administration. We would be in total trouble, you know. So the key challenges has always been, number one, inflation. How do we lower this rapid increase in the cost of living, the effect of fuel subsidy, and of course the skyrocketed prices of food. The second thing, Folarin, is unemployment and underemployment. And I've carefully used these two phrases, you know. The issue of unemployment, the labor market remains very weak. It's not as vibrant as it should be. And the high youth unemployment and underemployment contributing to social instability. Now, the third factor, which is very pertinent, is the debt management system. Kudos to the president for being bold to ask for debt forgiveness. Brother Flori, that is very pivotal. You see, every leader that really wants to get empathy will be honest enough to expose his vulnerability. You know, vulnerability is not a bad thing. It's a bad thing when we cover it and it doesn't give us the solution. And so Obasanjo did it and got result. And I don't see any reason why this government should not do it. So our growing debt is burdensome and requires a very practical, strategic solution. So going to ask for that forgiveness is laudable. Now, the other point, the final point on the key challenges is infrastructure deficits. There are key infrastructures, including power and transport system, that requires sufficient investment to boost productivity and economic growth. I mean, we can talk about this and dissect it and delve deeper, but these are, to me, what I consider the key challenges of the current administration economy. And no matter how great an economist you are, these are not problems that you solve over time, overnight. They are problems you solve over time. And I think and I believe, looking into the heart of this president, he wants to get solution. He is not playing, looking the other way, thinking that the masses are not suffering. He has admitted it times without number. And I pray that every other person around him will do the same and take strategic action which is willing to take to find solution.
And as he is going about it, he and his team, as you know, there will be commentary here and there, government expenditure, what government is spending resources on. Let's take, for instance, the debt forgiveness thing that you spoke about. Indeed, that's very, very desirable. Your body language, of course, cannot be showing ostentation as you are asking your creditor to forgive your debt. You know, we had a situation where I think the first experience Nigerians had of a debt forgiveness was under then President Obasanjo. I don't know if anything, what has changed between then and now in terms of people complain. They might not know all about it, but we are all Nigerians, and so we have a right to voice our impressions. People complain that we don't carry on as someone who needs, if a country could be referred to as someone who really needs assistance. Because when you see us, you get my meaning. When you see us in so many different ways, we're not looking too bad. People are complaining that we recently bought a jet for the presidential fleet. People are complaining, about a number of expenditures. I have heard the opposition say that was the vice president's, complex, was it among the so these things, they might not be that important on a global scale, but in terms of our case for debt forgiveness, for example, do you think it affects it significantly or marginally, or if at all?
Well, Brother Fulari, there is no doubt that this government inherited a very large government structure, which I am a proponent for that structure to be shrink and cut down to avoid waste in governance. However, you cannot ask someone to find a solution without tools. Many people watching me may have various definitions of what tools that should be used, but let's look at it. If the current administration, the jet that the president is flying, he's the president of the country. If those around him, especially experts in aviation, says that, look, what you have currently cannot take you, for instance, you will not be able to take off from here and fly straight to the United States. I don't see any reason why that shouldn't be changed. If we're asking him to work, he has to be comfortable enough to do the work, even though it shouldn't be seen as ostentatious. So everyone can criticize. And let me say this, Brother Flori, if you're a leader and nobody is criticizing you, then something is wrong with you. Every
Indeed.
leader will be criticized, but let the criticism be constructive and solution-driven. What happens, many of us analysts, is that we talk more of the problem without solution. And that's why I came on your show today. And I want to talk about what I would describe as strategic recommendation for some of the effort that the government is doing. However, let me put a caveat. I am not an economist. But
Okay.
I don't have an IQ. I don't have an IQ of a mushroom not to know, haven't been able in my own little way to run my organization to a level where it is profitable and sustained for 20 years.
Yes.
I think I can make some economic postulations.
Indeed. Now, when you look at it, business certainly has to improve. We want a thriving economy, and there have to be. You've spoken about employment, or the lack thereof. Businessmen are not really enjoying themselves in these times for now. I'm talking here about the interest rate. There are those who are saying, how do you approach your bank for a loan? And it just doesn't work anymore. These are some of the things about that inflation has brought about. The bank rate has gone up. These are all problems that we are contending with, not to mention, for the moment, the effects that corruption is also adding on to it. Food inflation is all in there. So it's like this administration has its work cut out for it. But the one thing you note is that the president doesn't shrink. He doesn't shrink away from it, the whole size of the problem, which means that he is saying that, look, I can see the road clearly. It's going to take some work, but I need you guys with me. I need you to understand what the issues are. Is it your belief that they have done enough in terms of trying to get us on side with information?
Well, again, you're taking me. First of all, I think for those of our viewers that will say that maybe I didn't answer your question about debt management. I believe that the part of managing debt is being able to admit that, listen, it's gotten to a point that you cannot pay. So I fully support the idea of going to ask for some level of debt forgiveness.
Release.
It does not present us as irresponsible, no. It rather presents us as humble and responsible. For the question you ask, you see, leaders take responsibility. And every time the president or those around him admits that the fact that, listen, we know that the populists are suffering, people are feeling the bite of the economic hardship, that's a responsible way to communicate. However, I think, in my own opinion, that taking into cognizance the kind of very dynamic, well-knowledgeable communication experts that surrounds the president, I feel that they need to do more. I feel like they need to focus, yes, admit that we are struggling, but also focus on what you're doing to bring solution to this complaint of the public. There's a possibility that they are doing more, that they are not communicating, and communicating effectively. There should be more effective and strategic communication of some of the things that they are doing, especially among the ministers. Many of them are too quiet for my liking. There's a need for them to come out. And I am aware that there is a presidential directive asking many of them to go out there and speak about the things that they are doing. I think if they toe that line, we'll be able to communicate what this government that are doing that is not in the public domain, that is causing this public discontent. I think they need to do more in terms of strategic communication. What is happening right now may not be good enough. If, for instance, one of the people that I respect in this government is the CBN governor. He may not be perfect like every other person, but every time I watch him, I see the calmness in him. I see the determination to do something better than we are seeing. But even within his own office, are they effectively communicating? Once in a while, I've seen him do interviews and all that. But I think they need to do more, especially when they see a good outcome. I think that should be effectively communicated, because what is creating the public discontent in most cases, Folari, is the fact that they don't know. They don't know what is happening. They are not told what is happening. And so they take to social media and consume misinformation and miscommunication, fake news that is all over the place. The president took a holiday. There's nothing bad in anybody going on a holiday. Sometimes you need to rejuvenate, you understand, to be able to do more. Besides, truth be told, he's not a young man. Sometimes he needs to take a rest and come back refreshed. So I think these are some of the things that we need to look at. But in terms of the determination to turn around the economy, I think he's very determined. The problem is sometimes is the amount of work they put in. The people are not patient to see the commensurate result, which is often a human instinct.
Look at, for example, there's so much, as the president was saying, we were all witness to it. There's so much that has been done already. Take the school loan system, higher education loans, those kind of programs are in there. Take improvements. I hear they're advising us at least that improvements are being made in our security situation. The security is important because that has been said to be one of the reasons that our farmers especially up north, have not been able to go to the farm, thereby bringing on the onset of food inflation. So there are quantifiable gains being made in these areas. But as you started out saying, and as every reasonable man knows, these things didn't happen overnight, and neither will their solution be overnight. It's going to take a little bit of, well, maybe more. It's going to take a bit more time than people necessarily will want. One moment, I hear there's a caller on. Funshaw is in Minna. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in. Fine morning. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. I can hear you. Thank you for calling
Good morning.
in.
How are you?
Very
thank
well.
you for thank you for this. I'm happy with this program.
Okay.
See, and I'm happy with your guest too. Yeah, your guest. I love the way your guest was answering your question.
Mr.
Let me just tell you
Yes.
regarding the issue of the aircraft bought by the president.
Yes.
You see, it is the same people that are going to criticize if he didn't buy. See, like your guest said, if he didn't buy it, if the aviation expert they are around him telling this aircraft cannot take you to where you're going, why not change it? It has been changed. It will not be changed next year. Next 2 years, it will not be changed again. So I see no reason why people talk as if the same thing goes to the house of the vice president, resident. The resident will not be built next year again. Will not be built next 2 years again. So why this issue of this? I see no reason why people just they are the same people who tell you that I know he'll have bought the aircraft instead of going for crash. God forbid bad thing.
God forbid.
We pray that this president God will help him as good to survive. I mean, it's good to succeed in this administration because the president is really trying. I must confess to you, I must confess, he's trying. So let's support him and then pray for him. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in. Indeed, Jake, just as you said, some things are absolutely necessary and are done on considered and expert advice. But, you know, Nigeria is that kind of a place where there is freedom of expression. Let it be said. We jealously guard our freedom of expression, and everybody is going to have his say or her say for that matter. So it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes, now and again, the administration will come out and put people in the right track. Other times, they just ignore it. That itself is a plus, is it not, for Nigeria? I imagine all our other African compatriots, African citizens, are looking at Nigeria with envy, say, the kind of things they can say in Nigeria, we dare not try it here. You say it in Nigeria. I think the sense of democracy is such that people are allowing it. That was just my own sort of a by comment on that issue. But you heard that guest.
No, absolutely, Brother Flori. Even though I tried to pick what the caller was saying,
okay.
I didn't hear him very well.
He was saying exactly what you had said earlier.
Yes.
He was saying exactly what you had said earlier in terms of the reason for some of these things that people don't know about.
I figure so. But like we're talking about strategic communication.
Yes.
When some of those information were in the public domain and it was brought to the public court of public opinion, I agree that there are certain things that will be in the court of public opinion and the government will just overlook it and ignore it and move on. However, sensitive issues that points to a comparison between the life of the citizenry and those who are leading us. When such issues comes up, I don't think it should be ignored. I mean, both of us, myself and the caller, we are speaking more like a government spokesman, you know. But it's the truth, you know. It's easy to defend the truth. You understand? You struggle with covering the lies, you know. So it's absolutely. But let me also underscore something, Brother Flori, because it's important to underscore the fact that freedom comes with responsibility. Freedom of information also comes with responsibility, you know. be able to balance your view objectively, weighing the pros and the cons. And that's what I try to do in my analysis of the matter. If I see that something is totally bad, I'll speak about it. If there's a solution, but my intention is always to bring out solution.
Okay, well, Brother Jake. Good morning, Mr. George.
Okay,
okay. The road ahead, Tinubu's economic recovery, the road ahead.
Yes, I greet your guest.
Okay, Jake Epelle.
Uncle Yori, statistically, the aims and objectives of the government, you can readily say they are on course. But it's not yet cascading to the ordinary man in the street. Let me just take two items on the list. The removal of the fuel subsidy aims at getting more money for government activities. That has been achieved. But this money is being given to governors, and the people in the populace are not seeing what the governors are doing with the money. For example, for the past 1 year, Uncle Yori showed me one governor that has shown extraordinary infrastructural performance. That people will say, this governor or that governor, take Lagos out. They have money, and you can say Lagos because you can see trains. Just take any other state and say, this is what the governor has done as a result of the additional money that was being realized from the removal of first subsidy. The federal government can make claims. They will tell you that the road, what do you call that road on the coastal line?
Yes.
Of 15 trillion is
yes.
in progress. They can tell you many other things. That's one. Number two, the exchange rate. The central bank governor told us a few months ago that he was going to carry out aggressive regulation of the industry. When he did it for a few weeks, we saw that the dollar came down to almost 1,000 naira to a dollar. Today it's 1,700. What has happened, and where has the aggressive regulation gone? We are hearing now that governors have started again converting the FAC allocations which the federal government is giving them into dollars again. Meanwhile, the removal of the fuel subsidy, as government has planned it, is going on well. For example, we are no longer going to be using about 50% of our foreign exchange to bring in fuel with Dangote's refinery on stream now. People are fighting to make sure it doesn't happen. Government will need to, shape up there. Then on the issue of communication, I keep on saying this. The government needs to wake up in the area of telling people what is happening. They have allowed social media to take the pace for government. They have allowed ignorant people who don't have the right economic information to just be spreading lies. And the average man on the street believes what they hear from these people. Let there be a government person that speaks to the press about what is going on in the government on a daily basis. That person will collect information from every MDA and let the people know what is happening. Nigerians are not difficult to manage. They just need to be informed. You need to let them know what you are doing. This government is not doing it. The previous government did not do it.
Okay.
I think this mistake should be avoided.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Jake, would you like to look at some of those points that were made by our last caller?
Yeah, Brother Flary, very, very on point. But I think we need to drill it down to specific solution.
Okay.
When we talk about, because this effective communication keeps coming. The first caller,
it keeps coming back.
The second caller,
yes.
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 So what are these effective communication? Effective communication is being able to manage information, put it out there for people to see, and receive feedback and do something with that feedback. That's just a working definition. I'm not also an expert in communication. Yeah, but however, let's put it in context. I think one of the most powerful tool of communication today is the social media. The government needs to take into account what machineries that they can launch to get hold of the narratives and the conversation around the social media. We don't have the kind of money we have in the hand of government, and yet the public seems to be in control of what happens in social media space. I think the government needs to take a cursory look at what kind of machineries and expertise that they can acquire to take control of the narrative, not to take control by promoting misinformation, but to take control by putting out the right information. I think, did you lose me?
Sorry, I got you there, and I do agree. I got you, and I do agree, especially as it is. I think government is continuing in the way things have always been. Yet, the world has moved on. I mean, newspapers are important, but those are not the primary source of news anymore. Even the newspaper guys understand this and have come on to social media space, bringing things down to bite sizes that the public, the majority of people are going to understand. There will always be those who will go back to reference materials to flesh out their knowledge. But in the first instance, people are getting their news from their phone. So I agree with you. There are some things I see the government is doing. They are, for instance, they are talking with reporters. They have these forums on social media. But perhaps they need to go out, as you are suggesting, and take control of their corner
of the narrative,
the social media space. But
there are other things. The other things, Brother Fleury,
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
The other
Dominic
things
has been waiting. Let me just take Reverend Dominic so we don't lose him. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Okay, good morning, Yori. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good morning, my friend Jack. Jack know me very well. My name is Reverend Dominic.
Yes.
Long time we have not seen, but I'm seeing him again now television.
Okay.
Yori, I want to disagree a little bit about the discussion this morning, if you allow me. My friend George has spoken very well. Let me say this. The communication, thank you. The communication here will be speaking about this communication for too long. He left for the government to get a good communication expert to communicate to Nigerians and not leave it for social media. But that's one way. I want to ask my friend Jack, do you need an economist to tell us that money or Naira devaluation since 1980s have not done well for Nigerian economy? Do you need an economist, Dr. Jack? Do you need to tell a blind man there's pepper in the soup? There's hunger in the land. If there's policies of government that, towards to recovery of Nigerian economy, how is it working for Nigerian people? Like George says, there's more money in the hands of the governors now. But out from Imo State, I've not seen anyone tangible thing in Imo State that this $1 million bringing to Imo State in name of the removal of subsidy money. I've not seen the change on ground. The hunger is so much. If a man must survive for tomorrow, he must feed for today. I have not moved my car for over 2 weeks because I cannot buy food for 1,200. And if I buy food for 1,200, my family will not feed. I don't know about another person. Yes, there's recovery of economy. But we are going through hardship in the land. Now, hear this, Yori. I don't want to blame the last administration any longer because things I supported Buhari government. I'll stop supporting any government. Buhari disappointed almost all of us. No promise of Buhari for 8 years he kept. And this is the mess we are today. There's no way we cannot buy an airplane for Mr. President. Nigeria is a big nation. We cannot use a charter plane for our president. That is not the way. But the issue again is this. I want to ask Jake, how do you have 48 ministers in the kind of economy we have today? Last week or 2 weeks ago, we discussed it on this television. I said, Yori, I give you a home assignment. Could you mention 10 ministers offhand, quickly? Yori, I'm giving you that challenge again this morning. Mention 10 ministers you know in this government. And we have 48 in the kind of economy we have. Too many people doing nothing. The issue is that the economy is biting hard. We must do something quick to make people have at least a square meal in this nation. Naira devaluation has not helped anybody. What you call fuel subsidy, whether it's working or not, I'm confused as a man. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you very much.
Jake, you see? This is a passionate friend of mine that I haven't seen a long time ago. And I'm not surprised he's sounding that way because it also have affected the income of churches.
And everybody, churches and everybody.
And everybody, yeah, it's true. And I think, Brother Fulani, with time, because I know you don't have time, I really want to talk about solution. But however, another thing I think government would do when it comes to this issue of communication, the use of surrogates are powerful. Experts that they can send out there, people with credibility, people who can speak authoritatively to government programs, and balance it out so that they can be, because take it or leave it, some of us analysts,
that's the job of ministers.
Network.
That's the job of ministers, isn't it?
If they are not doing it, they should find people who are ready to do it. But again, yes, the ministers can do that, but the public analysts that are credible are more believable. They are more believable,
Indeed.
So
I get you. I get you.
If you allow me, I would like to talk about solution, because we've talked about too many problems, which is true, is there.
Okay.
But what are the solutions?
Let's do that. Let's do that, Brother Jake.
Okay, so there are 5 things that I have, I've wrapped around my head that government is doing some of them, but I think they need to do more. The people are complaining. The masses are complaining. What's the solution? Social safety nets. Create social safety net. The government should expand the targeted social welfare programs to, help in cushioning the effect of the economic reforms on the most vulnerable in our country, such as direct cash transfer, which they are relaunching, which is commendable, but we need to do it in such a way that we can hold people accountable and ensure that it's going to the citizens that deserve that. The issue of food security, the food security measures, and affordable housing initiatives. Some of them have been launched. Again, we need to communicate to the people some of these initiatives and bring out people who, for one reason or the other, have benefited from such, so that they can stand as testimonial of the workability of this kind of investment. Number 2, boost local production. Boost local production. We need to encourage local manufacturing, such as agricultural production, to reduce import dependency, and to create employment opportunities. Initiatives that addresses issues around employment opportunities, the promotion of SMEs, very vital. The issue of debt restructuring and fiscal discipline is also should be on the front burner. energy and infrastructural investment, the problem of power, making sure that we have available power to do the things that we are doing, whether it's in the manufacturing, education, health. We need that. I think the final thing that I would like to touch on is empowering the private sector. Simplify the regulatory environment to make it easier for businesses to operate and thrive, which will boost investors' confidence and economic growth. I did mention 5 things. Empowering the private sector. Number 2, energy and infrastructure investment. Number 3, debt restructuring and fiscal discipline. Number 4, boosting production, local production, food production, and social safety net. I present this as simple roadmap for the economic recovery that is ahead of us. I mean, this is just my own simple postulation. There may be others with greater insight,
okay.
But I think we need to toe this line.
Thank you, Brother Jake. Otumba Okunowo, I believe, is in Abeokuta. Good morning to you, sir. Did I hear that Otumba Okunowo?
Good morning. Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Please mute your television set.
Good morning, Jake.
Okay, carry on.
Good morning, Jake.
Otumba, I greet you, sir.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, the guests. I want to start with Reverend Dominic. Apart from him, others are government spokespersons that have been calling this morning. The Reverend Dominic spoke very well. He spoke about what is happening in the country. Hunger is in the land. Hardships are on the land. The hardships are on the land. So what do you talk of effective communication? What do you want to communicate? Nothing to communicate other than the hardship that is in the land. Now, the president and the vice president are not in the country. Where do you find that? Can you find that in America or in Europe? What is happening in this country, banana republic? And if you cannot, then we need perhaps we are in a military regime. If you cannot criticize constructively, then let's go back to military regime and know that we must not talk at all. Good morning.
Well, good morning, and thank you very much for calling in. We take all sorts of callers. That's an angry Nigerian in there, and so we don't need to put anything because it's the way he sees it. And we have not discounted any of those things. We have acknowledged that things are tough, but we can't sit down inside things are tough and not do anything about it. So that's why we thank the Otumba for calling in, but I don't think we need to spend much more time on, his complaint, because it's what? How does one put it? It's real. It's real. Reverend Dominic was telling us that he has parked all his cars. He used to be able to fuel them. And Reverend Dominic is not your ordinary small man. There are many of us who are in that same situation, with fuel being a 1,000 plus now. But that is part of the reforms that the president established. And it's hurting. It is really hurting. But was there or is there the opportunity to not do it? In other words, are we to continue with the untenable subsidy regime, whereupon we'll all be, a bit happier? These are the questions that go back to Otumba didn't care much for the explanation about what communication are you talking about? But sir, it's about trying to get people to understand, and I understand the pain. Look, as we're doing all of this, Elder Jake, as we're doing all of this, the living costs are going up. NEPA has just, well, they're not called NEPA, but you know what I mean. They have just told us that they want to move as many people as possible to Zone A, Band A. Where are we going to get the money to pay? Some people are protesting, say, please, I don't want Band A. Can you people find Band C or D and just give me that? So it just goes back to the toughness, and that's what I thought we should highlight. But as you have always wisely said, Elder Jake, whereas we talk about those things, there can also be some solutions that can be offered, and that's where you were speaking about, the energy and infrastructural investments that you were talking about earlier. You also talked about debt restructuring. These are some of the solutions. And how to encourage local production. We've been on this particular point for decades now. We know, but we're not able to do it, Elder Jake. But whether we like it or not, it looks like we've come to that time when we're going to have to bite the bullet.
Yeah, we must create the enabling environment for local productions to thrive, but also to please calm the nerves of Otumba. Yes. Respectfully, sir, I think everyone that's called admitted to the fact that, look, it's difficult for everyone. And I don't think any government spokesperson called today, because they spoke passionately and honestly about their impression. And that's why diversity is important. There's always diversity of opinion,
Of course.
But yes. But in terms of local production, one, the government needs to create the enabling environment for local producers to have access to funds, access to, take for instance, those in agriculture, fertilizer, transportation, the whole ecosystem within the agricultural value chain needs to be thoroughly investigated, interrogated, and enhanced, so that those that are in it, take for instance, those who are producing, will not see their produce rot in the barn because they don't have the means of transportation. Exactly. So I think also it's important to underscore the management of post-harvest storage. I think also the government needs to pay attention to post-harvest storage. How do we store the seedlings? How do we ensure that those who needs to plant in the next agricultural cycle will have access to a quality seedlings that they will plant, that will grow and provide harvest?
Thank you very much. You're so
Epelle is saying that President Tinubu's economic policies are not well communicated to Nigerians. But I'm asking, which other communication does he need than the fact that there is astronomical rise in the price of goods and services? Rice is expensive, beans is expensive, pepper is expensive, fuel is expensive, everything we live on is expensive. Which other communication vehicle is Jake Epelle talking about? Dear Jake Epelle, we understand totally, and the policies of this president is well communicated to us through the inflation that he has bring upon us. So many of you work for this government to gain government patronage. Stop saying his policies are not well communicated. We understand it fully well.